singing here in the evening breeze. Here tonight I'll be waiting. Come sit a while with me.
Some days I don't feel like I belong, even when I'm told I do. Some days I don't live like I'm part of God's great story. I forget that my life is lovingly woven into everything, and it isn't just about me. But when I stop to hear the wind in the trees, I remember that I'm connected, that I belong. I remember that I am a part of something infinite that will last much longer than I can imagine, and I rest here a while. Contemplation is a way of remembering that we belong. And to belong is to be, in part, responsible for the ongoing transformation of the world. A drop of rain doesn't do very much by itself, but thousands upon thousands water the earth. May we choose to move together as a community, each of us, all of us, sharing belonging and responsibility within God's great story. We breathe together.
Please welcome Michael Poffenberger and Richard Rohr.
Good morning and welcome back to day 3, our final day together here for our 7th and final CONSPIRE conference on the theme of me, us, and the world, living in God's great story. Our day today is going to be focused on this theme of how do we take responsibility individually and collectively for building a world where we all can belong. Or as Richard would probably say, a world that embodies the reality of our belongingness as human beings and as part of this great story. Maybe I put those words in your mouth. Maybe that's not what you would say.
Sounds good.
If you've been impacted by this experience and you're looking for opportunities to go deeper with the teachers that we have partnering with us here at CAC and this emerging community of contemplatives from all over the world and all different backgrounds, wanted to just mention a few of the ways that you can do so via our programming here at CAC. So for those of you who may not, for the 3 of you who may be in this conference who are not already signed up, one is our daily meditations, our free daily meditations that Father Richard got started probably almost 15 years ago now, I think back in 2007, and had been a big part of growing this emerging community of contemplatives. We also have a new podcast network. All the teachers who you're hearing from, almost all the teachers you're hearing from this weekend have podcasts that we've been producing with them as part of our podcast network, all completely free of charge and available for you. Our online courses are like mini CONSPIRE communities, little pop-up communities around specific themes and topics of inquiry. And of course, the Living School, our 2-year deep dive immersion, a school of formation in the mystical tradition of Christianity with a community of people who are dedicated to diving deep and living it out in the world. And our core faculty of Father Richard and Brian McLaren and Dr. Barbara Holmes and Jim Finley. And of course, our events. So this is the last planned CONSPIRE conference, but we've learned so much this weekend about what's possible, and we'll be looking again and learning from this experience to think about how might we continue our long tradition at CAC of hosting events and retreats like this one this weekend. So stay tuned on that. So again, our theme today is focused on shifting from taking responsibility for our individual healing to taking responsibility for healing in the world, for building this world where all of us do belong. We'll be searching and exploring questions about what does your community need? What does our world need? What role can our faith and our spiritual practice play in helping us take responsibility? And what can we do together? Our first main stage presenter, Jacqui Lewis, is a wonderful role model of one example of building a faith-based community where everyone belongs. She's written about it. She's spoken about it. Her church on the Upper East Side of New York City, Middle Church, is just this amazing example of the beloved community in practice. And she'll be talking to us about love in action. Then we'll be having a conversation about our work here at CAC, the vision that we're holding for this contemplative movement, and how we can be a part of that together. And then we'll be sharing communion in keeping with the model that Jesus showed us. Jesus' most consistent social action was the extension of hospitality, and especially hospitality to those who were otherwise excluded or marginalized in some way in his society. So following on that model, our model for doing that here at CAC, all the way back probably from the beginning, is the Iona liturgy.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't Iona in the first days. I hadn't been there yet.
Oh, okay.
It was more Catholic. Now it's Catholic in the good sense, universal.
Small c Catholic.
Yeah, I hope.
So the Iona liturgy is this beautiful liturgy from the Isle of Iona that is meant to be a radically inclusive experience to welcome all to the table of Jesus. And then we'll end our day again with a closing blessing and ritual from Pat McCabe and the Red Road Crossing drummers. Once again, just want to remind folks that part of the gift of this experience is getting to connect with each other, so please feel free to make use of all the features that we've established to help people all across the world find common longings of the heart and common inspirations and encourage each other as part of this experience. The content from this conference, including the presentations in the workshops, will be accessible to you for a year after this conference. So fear not, if you missed anything or had to step out, you'll be able to come back and see what you missed or rewatch something that spoke to you. So the last thing is just, since this is my final session as MC, just to offer my profound thanks to our board, staff, team here at CAC, everyone who was involved in this production, our partner organizations who showed up and were holding this big vision and part of this community with us, the donors who provided scholarship assistance for many folks to be able to participate, of course to Father Richard and our teachers here with us at CONSPIRE who are sharing so generously from their wisdom and their gifts. And then lastly, but not least, to each of you for choosing to take up what's yours to do in this time, to be open to that, to be courageous on your spiritual path, to allow yourself the gift of this teaching and this experience. So I'm going to turn it over to Richard for our opening practice. Maybe before I do, we could all shift from our logistical brain, find your feet on the ground, and settle in for our morning meditation.
One major reason I think a lot of would-be contemplatives and activists are often not taken seriously is because they leap too quickly to everything is one. Everything is united. And they are, in terms of the paradigm we're using today, they leap to the world without going through me and us. And I think that's because their contemplative experience was not experienced properly, if I can say that. You have to come to the universal through the particular. You can't start with the universal. I'm 16 and I'm saying everything is one, everything is beautiful. Well, you're right, but you don't really know that yet. And you have to suffer through to that. You have to honor diversity before unity is beautiful. Now, again, I'm going to quote that man that you hear me quote so much, John Duns Scotus. He was our Franciscan philosopher in the 13th century who presented in the middle of scholastic theory, which said that God created genus and species. Let there be trees. Let there be light. Let there be animals, which is lovely and probably would make for a good movie. But he said no to that. He said no, and he develops this over pages of rarefied philosophy. God only creates this. That inspired the title of my book on contemplation, Just This. You have to start with this before you get to everything. You have to honor diversity before unity is wonderful and hard fought for. So he not only says God creates each thing in its thisness, but he sustains it, she sustains it, forgive me, we're beyond giving gender to God, in being every minute. The fact that you right now just took another breath. God has chosen you again and again and again in your thisness. Now, our previous Holy Father, Pope Benedict, a good German like me, he didn't like Duns Scotus because he said Duns Scotus laid the foundation for individualism. That's really not true. And it was poets like Gerard Manley Hopkins and mystics like Thomas Merton, who both considered themselves Scotists in the Catholic world, not Thomists like most did, because they knew that you had to start with thisness. Appreciating the weed more than depreciating the flower or the field of flowers. Center in on one weed and notice, appreciate its gratuity, its shape, its texture, its form, its why me? Why am I here? And then know that God allows this weed. Now, Duns Scotus was a philosophical mind that built on the intuitive knowledge of St. Francis. He took it to the philosophical level. And the example I usually use is of St. Francis walking along a path in Italy, seeing a little worm, and picking up the worm and placing it on the side of the road so no one would step on it. He loved thisness as a stepping stone to loving everything. So that's what we're going to do right now, together. We're going to let this moment, these few moments we have, to be an appreciation for the thisness of everything. I think that's at the heart of contemplation. Let's humbly come out of the world of hopeful unity for even half a second is more than enough. Back into the world of beautiful diversity. Because here is where we live our lives in this world. Appreciating each different thing. And that's why Merton could say at the end of his life, your only job is to become who you already are. That just sounds too simple. Now maybe a little better version, but who you already are, it's already in your DNA. God doesn't want me to be Michael or Michael to be Mirabai, huh? Nope. Richard's got to be Richard, as boring as that might be, as ordinary as that might be. That's how radical the doctrine of thisness really is. It lays a basis for rich universalism, but a universalism that is grounded in the dignity of each individual thing. You can't get any better than that. You really can't. Thank you.